Welcome back to the channel. Now this video represents something that I'm hoping to bring back here and there where possible. This is an older build of mine, much older. In fact, this was first released on October the 22nd, 2018 and has been up on YouTube since. It's already up on YouTube, why do it again? Well, lots of things have changed since I put this video up, and I'm pretty sure unless you go way back into my back catalogue or you search for an Alleycat BF109 D conversion, you're not going to come across this video. And I feel like it's got some interesting points to show you. If nothing else, it's probably one of the most complex builds I've done, but more of that in coming down the line, where I'm actually going to show you the most difficult kit I've ever built, which is a video which I am also going to redo like this, and a kind of nostalgic throwback to how I used to do videos, and it's interesting from my point of view to see how I've actually sort of come on in that, and actually progressed in my own modelling and editing, so that's good. What you're seeing here is what you get in the Alleycat conversion. I'm not sure if these are still going. Last time I looked, Alleycat models were now only selling through Models for Sale in the UK. I'm not sure if that's still the case. I should have checked. I haven't. This was a long time ago, and these were always notorious sets to get hold of. Very, very difficult. And they're it's a resin conversion set to go along with the BF109 E1. You can use the E3, but it's easier with the E1 from Eduard. You can see there that I've got the nose section, because this is a Jumo engined BF109, so it's got a very different shape to the engine, and we've got to cut a few bits out here and there. So these are the intakes underneath the wing. They weren't present on the D, so you've just got a flattening out panel there, if you like. A blanking plate is probably what I should be saying. So you've got to cut them out. At the time, this was too big a job for me. I didn't actually have the skills to do it, and I was going through blindly. Just noticed that cuff of that top I'm wearing. I still wear that top. That top is quite old. Well, there we go. Got some good use out of it, haven't I? It's a long process. It's quite a difficult process, and I didn't have the skills. However, that didn't stop me. I had the desire, and I think that's one of the important things that you can take from this, is to actually just get involved with the builds. Don't put off builds because you think you're not good enough. Learn on the go. And then what I can tell you that I did here is basically I got it to a point where I just could not get rid of the seam lines where the resin and the plastic was joining. And at the time, so if this went up in 2018, I probably started this at the beginning of 2018, because this would have been aimed at the Telford show, and I only started my channel in 2017. So yeah, that must have been how that came about. And at the time, the Scale Modelers Critique group still going, but that had I guess it was in its infancy, so there was people joining that, and that's where I got the information that was able to help me progress from not knowing how to blend the resin into the plastic to being able to blend it. I was using sprue goo. That was what the answer was, using sprue goo, but I was making it in the wrong way, basically. And you'd think, how can you make it in the wrong way? Well, I was using plasticard rather than actual plastic sprue, which seems silly in hindsight. You know, the answer was probably in the name, but there we go. And if we allow ourselves to jump forward now in this video, because this is a very long-winded video that I'm cutting down as I'm talking, you can see where I'm slightly starting to go wrong here. I'm using Mr. Surfacer. That wasn't going to cut it, really. And now I know about Mr. Surfacer. It's not really a filler anyway, in the conventional way. So this was always going to give me issues as far as showing the join, and I wanted to get a seamless join. So that just gives you an example of some of the things we were going on about. And this next section, you can see I've used a black pen to mark out the areas following the instructions that need to be cut off. So there's a reinforcing strip that runs along the above the wing root. That wasn't present on the D. And also we've got to allow for this new chin, which means we've got to get rid of the chin that's there for the E and then allow space so we can glue on the resin chin for the D. And that was simple enough. I mean, when I started this, I didn't even have a razor saw. I think I remember, it could have even been the year before. It could have been Telford 2017 that I had this in my mind. I'm not sure. Either way, it was job enough to actually find somewhere I could buy a razor saw from. It's just amazing how it's changed. You know, I could buy a razor saw off of Amazon now. I probably could have then, but I just wasn't plugged in the same way, if that makes sense. I'm just showing you there my trusty old spray mass. It did me very well. Probably got four years out of that, but it was a bit like Trigger's broom. It had new filters and new particulate filters and solvent filters. I think I even changed the straps. Not sure what was left of the original. And the trusty old Flory sanding sticks that I'm using up my last lot that I've got, because I don't think they're produced anymore from what I can tell. But there we are. This is what's wrapped up in this video. I'm becoming a little bit nostalgic as I get older. Very, very deep into my 30s. And it's just nice to kind of grab a little bit of what's gone before. And hopefully you agree with that. And as I kind of ramble on with you, I'm sure there's some interest here. Now you can start to see that join isn't going to be easy, and it wasn't. This was one of the worst joins to get on there, but I got there in the end. But there's a lot of fiddling about and unnecessary footage here. I remember when I first put this video up, I was very keen, thinking, "Oh, this is going to go well," and that was much more back. I don't like saying when YouTube used to be a community-based hobby space, but it is true. If you wanted it to be like that now, it isn't like that. Back then it was. When I first joined YouTube, I had all sorts of small channels. I was a tiny channel. I had 50 subscribers, and they took me under their wing and were giving me shout-outs, and then I would pick up subscribers from them, giving me a shout out, and then I was doing the same thing, and a lot of them were watching this video, and I do remember quite a number of them saying, "A lot going on here, I've watched 15 minutes," or another one was, "Very nice video, took me 2 days to get through it," but so in that case, I think it's, with that in mind, I think it's time for another quick cut. It is remarkable. I cut nearly 20 minutes of this video and we hadn't moved very far. Really all that's happened here is I've got the upper and lower parts of the wing together, I've got the fuselage together, and the cockpit's painted. Curiously, I didn't have any footage of that, so even with all that time I still didn't even show you painting the cockpit. Lovely, nice clean cockpit, just how I like painting them, to be honest. This was using MRP, no, this would have been Mr. Colour 02, I believe. Well, we'll see, because there's an important point there. And this is where I used to always follow Brett, well, I still do, but Brett Green and Chris Welchup's builds. And this is kind of pulling on probably more Brett's side, where it's nice clean cockpit and using little, mainly the way he painted his ML cockpit is how I painted mine. We're picking out red bits here and there. Added in an etch set there as well, which I think was meant for a different version, but chucked it in there nonetheless. And there you go. That's the Eduard instrument panel. And it's a nice, it's a nice build. It's a lovely kit. This is still, unfortunately, now it's in the attic. There are some of these builds I'm hoping to bring back, and if we get to one of them, unfortunately, ended up in the Atlantic Ocean. It was a commission build that I sent to America, and it never made it. But there we are. And now it's just a little bit of dry fitting. It seems back then I didn't like to do a lot of gluing on camera. Probably a confidence thing. Still working on trying to get these seams. As you can see, they've been sprayed up. That's probably the third time I've tried and failed with Mr. Surfacer. You would have thought I might have got the hint. But what I'm showing here is actually just leaving this resin insert not glued to the top of the wing, so that I can manipulate it so it comes in with the wing root nicely, and just make sure that it's it's doing the right thing. And now it's ready. So here we jump through, and I've got it all together. Now, actually, I think that might be a jump. Those 2 bits of footage. Oh, that could be 6 months, if not 8 months. Because in between that time, I just had to put them to one side. I was building this and a big Stuka, the Trumpeter A in 1/32 scale, the Anton. And these were for 2 big sort of table end displays at Telford, the IPMS show, the Nationals in the UK, for 2018. And I did get them finished, and they did kind of bookend my table, and the Stuka stopped so many people. It was unbelievable, because it had the dazzle scheme. Hey, well, it might be one we revisit in another longer format video. But yeah, it was a real triumph for me. It really was. I was very happy getting through it. I actually met people because of this model, this 109 as well. This is how I met Paddy, my who's been a friend for a long time. I think he we had a love for early 109s, put it like that, so this got the ball rolling. Now it's time to start re-riveting it. If my job wasn't hard enough, we're now going to rivet the model. It's not as bad as it looks. So it's because the Eduard model was riveted and the resin parts were riveted. I had to then fill in the rivets from all the sanding, and that's using this plan here from the Valiant Wings book, which covers I think it's the early variants of the 109. It might be the A to the E, and then I think it's the F to the G, following the changes in the engine cowling. So this is pretty much straight up as it is, using the Rosie Riveter and trying to match them up. And after using pencil to mark out where the rivet lines are going to go, I got my 1mm Rosie the Riveter tool by, I think it's Duisk, something like that. Not sure if you can still get these now. Again, this was of the time. This is what Plasmo was using, so I wanted it, everyone else wanted it. We all managed to get them, and then they just disappeared and were really hard to get hold of. I think you can still get the etch metal bit at the end, but you can't. I don't know if you can get the wooden, well, with it in the wooden handle. Let me know in the comments below if you've got one of these, or if you still buy one, or whatever. He's still waffling on here. Get on with it. Stick the wheel in there. Get on, lad. Come on. Oh dear. No wonder people had trouble getting through this video. Yet another 5 minutes of video cut there, and we're finally committing with the riveter. Still not. It's just pushing. Still haven't rolled it. It's gonna go. We're gonna do it. Gonna do it. I think this might have been the first time I ever riveted a model. Still not. There we go. Trust the process. Pretty sure when I got to the bit that I'd filled in, which is those blanking plates, it cracked. So, we learn. It's fine. It's all part of the. This is why I want to show this. Is I don't tend to build these sort of kits anymore. Not for. There's certainly want to do it, and I've got enough kits that are short run kits or difficult builds or conversions that I could certainly do it. But time wise, I need to sort of, at the minute, I need to make sure I'm utilizing my time as best I can to get the videos up that I want to do. So that's kind of where I tend to lean more into the easier builds like a Tamiya or the Eduard or anything like that. But it doesn't mean these builds won't be coming back. They're always in the back of my mind. It's where I really enjoy the hobby, is working through. Because what you get at the end of it, when you've had to really work for a kit, the feeling is worth it, and you end up usually with something that no one else has, and that's worth it as well. Especially if you're displaying or anything like that, it stands out. And again, like I said, this book ended with that Trumpeter 109 Anton. I had never seen one built. I still haven't seen any actually built in reality, but there are a couple of magazine articles on it, I think. It just gives you that makes you stand out a little bit, and is very good when I was doing my Spanish Civil War SIG. I keep talking about it in past tense. It's not gone anywhere, I just don't display with it at the minute. But that might come at a later date. And we're back in the trusty days of the blue paper. Those days are long gone. Oh, that light there I just tapped. I forgot about that light. That was a good light. Now this is me pushing on now, a bit more confident in the build, getting on with it, and starting to now bring it together ready for paint, which is the exciting bit. All the seam lines have been checked and corrected, all the rivets have been added, all of the resin bits have been merged in and joined in with the plastic and looking the part. So now it's just a case of just working around the airframe, looking at the last few bits of resin that need to be sorted, a little bit of warping here and there, and a few other things needed to be added. But generally, it's pretty much ready to go. So one of the other differences with the D and the E was the slats. So like we said, we had to get rid of those intakes. There's also a section on the slat, on the slats that, of course, it's been a while since I did an aircraft. Slats, ailerons, flaps. So just showing you there how the Eduard kit part fits, and then we've got to replace that now with the resin part, which doesn't have these plugs. So I was trying to work out how to get it to drop and hang in the kind of resting position. So it's just a case of offering that up and getting it in the right spot. We've also got the exhaust stubs as well, and they're different. So I think in the Bs they're flush with the cowling, and in the D you've got that kind of angle to it. Although I don't remember that part, I can't remember that, and I'm just showing you there as well now that it's warped just slightly up against a steel ruler, and you can see through it. Can't get the angle. Come on, well, it's sort of there. That's my old steel ruler as well. I had that for years and years and years before this point. I don't have it now though. I replaced it with new ones. Because it really is a trip down memory lane. And it's now coming together. So another actual section that we need to change is there's a couple things. Propeller is an obvious change where it's got two-bladed propeller. And that gives quite a different look to this model. Do you know, I've just realised whilst talking through this that I've still got one of these. I've got an Eduard E1 with the B conversion in it. Well, there we are. Maybe one day. Life's a bit too short for that at the minute, especially as we got nice ones that have come out in 48 scale with AMG and Dora wings. So with them on the market, you kind of think, right, do you need to build a 1/32 one? We're still hoping that someone like ICM or someone else, Wingsy, anyone, given up on the idea of Eduard doing it, but anyone release the A to D series of the 109. There's a lot of us out there that would be up for it. And the last important part on this is using the kit parts for the canopy. They didn't have aerials on the D, and this is obviously using the part from the E, which did have an aerial, and I had to get rid of that, so I just chopped it off as best I could and then sanded it back, and come the end it looks the part, but it looks a bit rough here, but I did manage to buff that out. I had a problem with something recently that had clear parts, and I was trying to buff them out, and I thought, God, I'm sure I've done this time and time again before and never had a problem, and I could not get the scratches out of the plastic. And I'm looking at this, and obviously I did, because that's scratched up, and I did something else the other day on a canopy, and that buffed out fine. So I must have lost my skills for a moment when I was struggling on this this model that I couldn't get the scratches out of, but it is certainly doable. Everyone's worried about canopies, and I'm sure if you go down on a microscopic level, it's never going to get as smooth as it was, but you can sand seam lines out of canopies and buff them back. You just got to have the right, enough of a grit to get that fine, and then polishing compounds and things like that. And now the exciting bit, and something I forgot I did, I'd like to come back to. I used to always paint my aircraft models in a primer of, well, not a primer, like a base coat of Tamiya XF colours, whichever I like the look of, whichever was close enough. So I think that's ROM grey on the bottom there, XF22, and that on the top, or that's what that might be on the top, I don't know. It just gives you a pre-shade, so it's a dark green where we're going to put a kind of lighter grey green over top, and we've got a dark blue when we're going to put a lighter blue on the underneath. So we've got ROM 63 by MRP, beautiful colour that, and then as I mottled it in, it gives a nice effect. I was really pleased with it. Back then, I mean, I don't do it much these days, but back then I did struggle to film the painting. I don't know how that's going to look. We'll see in the next section. But there it is, ready for paint, and we're going to jump in with the MRP colours now. And now it's into my spray booth. Still got this spray booth, but I don't use the lights anymore. This is the lights that come with it, and they've got a horrible kind of blue tint to them, which is a strange thing to have in a paint booth, because you don't see what the colour is at all. It's not like daylight bulbs, and it makes for terrible looking footage as well. But here it is, and you can see how I'm at lightning speed, obviously it's sped up, is just mottling that in and just letting some of that base coat bleed through, and it does not look like a dark grey, it looks like a purple. That's just the blue light. Using I don't think this is MRP straight out. I do fin it sometimes, but I don't think I was finning it at this point. I didn't think it needed to be. I mean, it doesn't need to be generally, but I do find it works better when you're doing mottling if you fin it down a little bit. And when I was using pipettes as well, I switched to straws. If you just cut straws in half, if you can still get plastic straws, that is, you can use them rather than having to waste pipettes. And it's going on nicely. I do paint the markings on this one, so it's white wingtips that are coming up. That's on top and bottom, and it's a cross on the rudder. Well, I say that, and then the actual markings are decals. So the roundels and the insignia is decals, which come with it, which are all in the set. Very nice indeed. Now we're on the top section, and we're just using ROM 63, which is kind of like an similar to O2, the interior color. And it's that's the same windscreen there, so you don't use an armoured windscreen on this one, but it's still the same. Well, I think it is a little bit different on the D, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same thing. There you've got painted black with the stripes to mask the black, and then white over the top. So it's kind of like a reverse masking, and that's the rudder markings. And then we spray up a few other bits. There's always quite there's bits, so the wingtips being white is one thing that's always a very obvious bit for a Condor Legion aircraft, but we've also then got the black around the exhaust. So for some reason they were painting the aircraft with black, so that I guess so the exhaust staining wouldn't stain the aircraft. I don't see that going into World War II so much, but they always have quite complex patterns around the exhaust. So I got that masked off as well, and then just paint that black. Pretty straightforward stuff. Again, I think this is using all MRP at the minute. This would be black and white from MRP, 63 on the top, 65 underneath. I still love MRP, but I was properly into MRP at this point. I've got a few Tamiyas there, but I think they're from something else. I don't think I'm using them here, because it's glossy, and MRP is very glossy. It dries extremely quick, and it comes out the bottle lovely. It's a fantastic paint. My thoughts have not changed on that at all. You can see it's a nice size 1/32, especially for the 109, because it's a small plane. Still got those orange scissors. And here we are, ready to go. So the undercarriage goes on, just like that. And there's the markings. It's got a number there, and they're very nice decals actually. They got the Alleycat stamp. I imagine they're who printed them. Couldn't quite see. Oh, it might have been Fantasy Print Shop. I don't know why I've got that in mind. Don't quote me on that. It just jumped in my memory. I didn't actually film any of the decaling, but you can see the effect on the paint there. Not so much on the underside. It's just blue on the underside, but on the upper surfaces, it does look very good. I still like that paint scheme to this day. This model was in my display cabinets up until very recently, and then we've moved and it's in the attic, unfortunately, but I'm sure it's still safe up there. Trusty micro set and so. We're just now having a look at the final parts of the aircraft before we actually get into weathering. So I've got the silver sprayed up there. That probably is just Mr. Colour 8 silver, which I used to like at that point. Still a good colour, but I think the Tamiya paints have come on a bit better. I believe I didn't like that on the back there, and I sanded that back and redid it at a later date. That's why I'm rubbing it. I wasn't too happy. It's gone on all a bit heavy. I was trying to get smooth paint finishes at this point, which you can see on the cowling. You know, that's a resin cowling. It's pretty good. That effect you can see is actually the surface of the resin. Well, that's a nice little feature there, the 2-blade prop. Kind of iconic for this aircraft. And the funny chin intake and the funny air intake on the top as well. Again, good paint from Mr. MRP. Sorry, it's Mr. Paint, I think. But yeah, and you can see just there with the decals, you can slightly see the carrier film. I did quite well getting rid of that, and then I did run over these markings with the rivet wheel as well, so that the rivet's cut in, and then just used. They might have been on the sheet actually. Those stencils, I'm not sure. That was another thing you had to be careful of with the Spanish Condor Legion aircraft, that not all the stencils carried over. But there's some quite detailed photos these days, and you can see that there's no stencils on them. A couple did, like the triangle for the fuel and a few other little bits and bobs, but not. It wasn't extensively carried over like it would be from a Second World War Emil, for instance. Now you got the rudder there, gone on nicely. The tail wheel always turned to the side. It's just what I used to like to do. And it's starting to look the part. It's coming together to be a very nice looking model. Now, one thing I did have an obsession with at this point was propeller logos, the stencils on propellers. I don't know why, I used to see them. Now this is interesting. I cannot remember. Hamilton Standard. You see how it says Hamilton Standard? That's not correct. So a lot of the Condor Legion aircraft did have these logos on the propellers. And this is the Trumpeter Stuka. This is a good time in my life where I was bringing these two together. I was very happy that I was at this point. So I got these for the Stuka markings, and then I thought, well, I can use the Hamilton Standard version. After this, me and Paddy since realised, we went right into depth in it, that actually it's not. So it is the Hamilton Standard logo, but it doesn't say Hamilton Standard. It's Germans. It's a German company using the branding, and it's got its own name. So it's just an interesting thing. We did find out what that actual stamp was. I think it was Paddy, obviously. It always is with 109s. He did find out exactly what the logo was. And then I thought about doing my own decals, but life is a bit too short for that. And this is me now just sort of talking through it with a roundup, but you can see the model and how it looks, and my old red laptop there in the background. It lasted an incredibly long time for what it was. But yeah, so, I mean, let me know your thoughts down below. You be the judge of whether these sort of videos should come back now and again, and just, they're like repops of my old videos pushed together, so they're not in one part or two part. I actually did this for this video a long time ago, but again, I didn't redo it in the way I'd wanted to then, and I felt like I had a little bit more to say about it in this video. Often I just put music over it, so because I felt like back then that's what people wanted. But nowadays I think people do like hearing what the actual content creators have got to say, and I think it's worth listening, you know, and it's a nice thing to watch through. So very unusual model, really, for the collection. One of my more unusual, and pride of place in the collection, very much so. I do like the way that upper finishes. There's hardly any weathering there. There's just a little pin wash here and there, just to really bring out the panel lines. The actual depth that's in the colour and the interest in it is from that pre-shading, from that dark base that was already there. I did go ahead and do better photos, which I wish I'd put on here, but I don't have them. They are on my website that I haven't updated for a long time, but you can go over. So I've got a link in the description box below, just showing you where this build has been written up, basically on my Spanish Civil War blog page. So you can have a look there, and that's the more updated photos. I retook them without a blue background, but this is what it is, and I think is in keeping with the model. So I've left them like that, and now just looking at it, I see the red tabs. I think they might have been red just on the ailerons on both sides. But there we are. What can we do? So yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. What you think about this? Is this a good idea? Kind of nostalgic looks back through my catalogue. Certainly feels the time when I haven't got any build videos ready. Or it's very useful on quiet periods of YouTube, which July running into August is not the best time for scale modelling content or any kind of modelling content. So it's good to have these sorts of things that can go ahead and fill that. So I'll leave you now with these images. Again, very interested to hear your thoughts down below, so please do get involved. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.